All right, I'm asking the question, does base weight of your backpack even matter? And does the overall weight of your backpack have a significant effect on how you choose to spend your time in the backcountry and the types of trips that you choose to go on? I am somebody that has ultimately come to the conclusion in my backpacking over the past year that weight of your backpack really is not the most important thing when it comes to having a good time in the backcountry. Yes, saving weight in your backpacking system is important. It does provide a better experience because more weight on your back does in fact put more strain on your body, your joints and everything. And if you can save more weight, then I do feel like, yes, ultimately, you will likely have a better experience. And that leads into the first point that I want to make today, that really you should focus on what your goals and purpose for going on a backpacking trip are. Then you are able to make further decisions that allow you to decide the gear that supports the goals and purpose for being out on that backpacking trip. And we all have different reasons for going out and being out on the trail. And it could be, I'm a thru hiker and I'm going on a long distance hike, and in that case, saving as much weight as possible is a very important purpose and goal for that particular trip that you are going on. In other cases, similar to what I do every year, is I guide students and I take people who have never been on a backpacking trip before out on a trip. And the gear and my purpose and goals for being out there are different than somebody that is going on a long distance thru hike. But to wrap this first point up a little bit, what are your goals? What are your purposes for being out there? And then the point number 2, buy and use the gear that supports those goals and purposes for being out there. Using an ultralight hiker as an example, yeah, my goal is to save as much weight as possible. Awesome. Then buy the gear that supports being able to accomplish that goal. You may be a weekend adventurer that loves to go off trail and explore and not cover really long distances. Well, you may need different pieces of gear that support being able to go and do those types of trips. And in my case, oftentimes in the desert, that may mean bringing ropes and carabiners and other pieces of gear that you would not normally carry on a very groomed, well-trafficked trail because it's an unnecessary piece of gear. But in this purpose, in this goal for going out and exploring this area, I need that piece of gear to be able to execute successfully the point and the purpose of that trip. The third thing that I want to talk about does involve weight. And again, I do feel like saving weight is important because less weight on your back does in fact put less strain on your body, and it just overall does make things more comfortable as you're walking. So do look for ways to save weight in your backpacking system and only take what you need. That's the second part of this point. Only take the gear that you absolutely need and don't carry extra things just because you feel like you need it. You can really save a lot of weight that way by reducing the amount of clothes that you carry with you and focusing on really good layering systems and having a dialed in sleep system, a shelter system. All of that is going to provide being able to have a good experience while you're out there. And number 4 to follow along with that is don't pack your fears. Now, if you are somebody that has spent less time in the backcountry, this is a little bit harder point to accomplish than somebody that may have hundreds of nights out there, because experience is the best teacher. Experience provides the opportunity to learn and understand exactly what is needed for different types of situations. The more time you spend out in the backcountry, the more weather events that you might experience and all sorts of different kinds of scenarios and situations you would find yourself in that allow you to dial in and know exactly pieces of gear that support what you might experience. Just understand that packing your fears does result in having gear with you that you likely never needed for the trip. An important thing though is don't compromise safety. Whatever you feel like you need to be safe and have a good experience is important, and definitely recommend carrying those things that provide you that confidence and that feeling of security and safety while you're out on a backpacking trip. And the fifth and final thing that I want to talk about, and I feel like is so important in this conversation, is to pack and use the gear that you are excited about. I get people all the time that ask me, what do you recommend? What should I buy? Almost every time I will say, well, what are you excited about? And what fits within your budget? Because what that ultimately will result in is you having a good time in the backcountry. Just because somebody here on YouTube says, this is the best tent, or this is the best backpack, or whatever piece of gear it is, you should buy this, doesn't mean that you actually should buy it. Do your own research and figure out exactly what pieces of gear you get excited about, but also support the goals and your purpose for being out there in the backcountry. So I feel like ultimately with all of those principles applied, that yes, that is going to support the opportunity to save weight in your backpacking system, and you're going to be taking the gear with you that supports your reason and desire for being out there. So focusing solely on base weight really is not the most important thing. Thanks for watching today, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you know what to do. We'll catch you on the next one. See you later.